My name is Michael Gomez, and I am a wounded healer. I decided to start this program, or this journey, as it were, a couple of weeks back, sitting back and thinking about things that have gone on in my life and in my career, and then where my path has been leading me lately back into the 911 side of things in the medical field. Started giving more thought to a lot of the things that I've gone through in my life, in my career, and things that I have not dealt with, and how they've affected me. So this is the first story. This is video number 1, as it were, and I invite all of you to join me and to share, to like. I'll be putting all this on YouTube. I've got a YouTube channel going, and that's where everything will be going from here. But my story is simple. The story that I'm going to tell is pretty simple. First of all, I don't want to make this all about me. I'd like it to be about other wounded healers. So I want to be out of the picture as much as possible. So I'll keep my story short and simple. Just a heads up, my story and the stories that others are going to tell are more likely going to be graphic. So if you have issues with the brutality of what we do and some of the honesty that some of us might bring to the table, it's probably best if you pause, stop, whatever, and move forward. But so I remember one time I had a call for a lady that had been sexually assaulted. She had been raped, and she had been set on fire. She was left for dead. She actually put the fire out on her own. This happened about 2 or 3 in the morning, and one of the neighbors or somebody went to go check on her, found her in her kitchen. And she was not well, you know, they could tell that she had been assaulted. She had some swelling and whatnot, and the house smelled like burnt flesh. So they called 911. The detectives got there first, but police department got there first, and the detectives showed up and they called us, and we went out there to go evaluate her. When I got there, when we walked in, I remember that it smelled. There was a distinct smell of burnt flesh. If you don't know what that smells like, it's pretty disgusting. But we saw this lady sitting at the table, and you know, she was alert, oriented. She was very pleasant, believe it or not. She wasn't complaining of anything. She wasn't moaning or wincing in pain. She was just there, and she actually felt like she was okay and that she didn't want any help. The more I started to look at her and assess her, the more I started to see the extent of her injuries. And coming around the left side of her, I saw that, you know, she had been burned on this side of her head and neck, down her chest and her side here, her flank. Second and third degree burns. I'd say maybe 15% of her body, if you want to average it out, was burned. You could see the bruising under her eyes and on her face, and she had some bumps. I was able to see the bedroom where she was, and you could see the covers where she was on the bed, where they had been scorched. They were on, you know, of course, on fire. And it really hit me really hard. That's when it hit me really hard to see what she had endured. And for her to be so calm and just super sweet. She was just very sweet about things. She kept calling me sweetie and telling me she was okay. We knew that, my partner and I and the officers there knew that had we not acted to get her to the hospital, things could have turned bad pretty quick for her. You know, infection can set in and whatnot. But the lady didn't want to go to the hospital. She did not want to go, despite every effort we had or tried. We couldn't convince her to go. She was adamant about not wanting to go. But we knew, of course, if we left her there and didn't take her, that things were going to get bad for her. So the police officer and I made a decision, and we elected to go ahead and just kind of help her onto the bed. And she didn't want to go, but we did. We got her on the bed, got her secured, got her in the ambulance, and started getting her ready for transport. Started an IV on her, gave her a little pain medicine, doing her vital signs. Everything was good. Vitally, she was stable. It's amazing to me that she wasn't complaining of any pain. It could have been any number of things. Maybe the shock, maybe her age. I don't know. I've seen the body do and withstand some amazing things when it comes to trauma. And I was very angry. I was very hurt to see that someone like that had that happen to her, and it was eating away at me. The angrier I just got angrier the more the longer I had her in the truck, the more I had to stare at her, the angrier I got. I wanted to kill that person. That's the only thing I kept thinking to myself. It's like, if I was to see that person right now, I probably would have killed him, We transported her to the hospital, and as we were transporting her, I think, I made the decision to take her to a trauma center because she had been raped and she had been burned. There's two different types of things going on. When I was calling in report to take her to the trauma center where they could handle the burns, they turned me down. They flat out refused to accept her, saying they didn't want her, or excuse me, that we shouldn't come there. Let me correct that. We shouldn't go there because she had been raped and she needed to go somewhere where there was a sane nurse. So they wanted us to go to a different location. I didn't want to. I wanted to come to them. But, I second-guessed myself and went along with what they said, and we rerouted and started going to the other location, and I started to call them and let them know that we were coming to bring this lady in and let them know what we had going on. And then they denied her and said, no, she does not need to be coming here. She needs to go to the trauma hospital. I agreed, the same thing, but we were in the middle of both hospitals as far as distance was concerned. And, we could have gone either way at that point. I tried calling back the trauma hospital again to let them know that the second hospital had turned us down, and they said the same thing. Look, she needs to go to a hospital with a sane nurse. They can handle her sexual assault investigation, and they felt that her burns, having not seen her other than my report, were not bad enough for us to take her there. Man, I struggle with that every day. That really bothers me that I didn't just tell them to fuck off and take her anyways. But I felt her trauma was her burns were more important than her sexual assault. Anyways, we got her to that hospital, and they didn't seem to act like it was a big emergency. They put her in one of the back rooms. It wasn't even a trauma bay. Did their assessment. I gave them a report, whatever, and they signed for her, and we turned her over to them, and that was it. It bothered me, That time in my life, I had just gone through a divorce, and I was still, a whirlwind of emotions of my own. So I drank a lot. I dealt with things by self-medicating. On my way home after that shift, I was going home. I was riding my motorcycle back home, and I lived in San Antonio at the time. The emotions hit me. It finally hit me what I had seen, what I dealt with. And I remember I had to pull over on the side of the road to let those emotions out because it was getting pretty bad. It came out on the news a couple of days later, and then it hit me again. I didn't hear anything about it ever, post-event. I never got an update on anything past the news. About a year after that, I was with another partner of mine, and we were in the same area, same district. We got a call for a unconscious, unresponsive patient at a nursing home. And, we got there, and there's a nurse waiting for us at the entrance, and they directed us to the room, and get to the room. There's a lady there, and she was barely breathing. She didn't look like she was in any distress, She was just, basically, she was dying. She had a do not resuscitate order there. She handed it to me, and it said there's nothing to do. Of course, it tells you what you can and can't do, and she wanted no life-saving measures. Sorry, I get tongue twisted. So we, we picked her up, we put her on the stretcher, and we started to go, and, you know, looking at the paperwork, getting vital signs, they were low. There's really much I could do. I put her on oxygen. I started to assess her. I saw some scarring here on her neck. It looked like burn scars. And I saw some on her shoulder over here, and then I started to look more, and I could see scarring on the side of her, on her flank. And I had turned around and told my partner that she seemed very familiar to me. I started going through the paperwork, and in her paperwork, it showed there her history of the assault and the burn. And it was like I got kicked in the chest, you know, like, here we go again. So I went back to that day in my head, what I had seen, and I was just pissed all over again. Because for me, it was like, here she is, alone, being, you know, living alone in her house, doing her own thing, and some piece of shit, spit fuck, comes in and breaks into her home and sexually assaults her, beats her, and sets her on fire. And then she survived that, you know, and ends up in a nursing home. So the last time I had anything to do with her was that day. And then I'm dealing with her again, and she's dying, and here she is alone again. I'm the last motherfucker that she gets to, I guess, have the company with, if that makes any sense. And I told my partner, upgrade, man, turn these lights and sirens on. I don't give a shit. I don't want her to die in the back of this ambulance alone with someone like me there, you know. I just felt guilty because I felt like I should have taken her to that trauma hospital, and it fucked with me a lot over the years, and then again it came back. I grabbed her hand, I reintroduced myself to her again more, and I was holding on to her hand, and I was caressing her forehead, and I was, you know, letting her know that it was going to be okay. Just to breathe, to basically, whatever is going to happen, but I'm here with her. She's not alone. I think I prayed a little bit with her, and I felt the life go out of her. As we were getting ready to turn into the hospital, she had taken her last breath. We were probably maybe half mile, quarter mile away from the hospital when she took her last breath. The one thing I didn't want to do happened, and we let our dispatch know that she passed away, and got her into the hospital, and again, you know, they just put her in the back, put her in a room and covered her up and left her there alone. I just felt like, you know, a piece of shit because I couldn't do more. And I felt guilty, and all that anger went and came back. And, you know, I buried it again, and I remember going out and drinking more at the end of that shift, and that's pretty much all I did, was deal with it in a self-destructive way, you know. In this field, when we don't deal with things correctly, we self-destruct. We turn to alcohol, we turn to drugs, we become violent, we become manipulative, we do all kinds of things because we won't deal with the pain, we deny it. And I'm one of those people. You know, you go into this with a full heart, and there is no way that you don't have wounds, that you don't have scratches and gashes in your heart and in your soul from doing what you do every time you lose somebody, especially somebody in that type of situation where not once but twice you're the one that has to turn them over in the hospital and leave them alone. And then the last time, you know, just being covered up like that, no family, nothing. That sucks. It still bothers me to this day. So this was my story. Like I said, I'll keep it simple. I've got plenty more stories to tell, but I don't want to make this about me. I want to make this about you and those like you. I invite you all to contact me, and let's get together. Let's talk. I want to hear your story. I want to help you start to heal. And I want to let the world know that we do suffer, and we are wounded healers. So please, thank you. Share, like it on, like the video, subscribe on YouTube. All the videos will be moving over there. I'll start putting short clips here on social media like Facebook and things like that. But everything will be going to YouTube. So thanks again for your time. Please share, and I would appreciate your support.